Hello everyone and welcome again to Damascene Cuisine. Today we're going to be making a very popular Damascene Ramadan snack called Naem. It's called Naem, which means soft, but it's weird because this is actually a very crunchy cracker. If you have family that hasn't been to Syria during Ramadan in a while, this would be a very lovely surprise to make for them. You can't really find it anywhere in the States. So really, your only option is either to go to Syria during Ramadan to eat this snack or to make it at home, which hopefully you'll be able to do after this video. The ingredients for this snack are very simple. You just need flour and water. So the important thing to remember is that you need twice as much water as you have flour. Here I have 1 cup of flour and therefore I need 2 cups of water. You can make as small or as large a batch as you would like. 1 cup makes about 12 to 15 of these naem, though I will say if you've never made it before, there's a good chance you're going to mess up quite a few. So you might want to do a larger batch at the beginning. Or maybe do a half batch, see how that goes, and then do a 1 cup batch. Alright, so all we're going to do is blend our flour and our water together. Here I have a hand blender, but you can use any type of blender. So first I'm just going to put in my flour, and then my water. It's like the perfect amount. Okay, and I'm taking my hand blender, and we will blend. So the next step is going to be to fry our batter. We're going to make basically very thin, almost crepe-like circles. I have a spoon or a knife inside the batter so that I can stir it before each little crepe that I make. And on the stove I have a pan that is heating up on exactly medium heat. It's a very good non-stick pan, but even so, I usually put a small drop, very small drop of oil, either coconut oil or vegetable oil, and I spread it around with my spatula. And this is only because the dough likes to stick to the pan, so even with a good non-stick pan, a little bit of oil goes a long way. So we're just waiting for our pan to heat up. Also, on the other side of my countertop, I have a small sheet so that I can lay my little crepe things that we're going to make so that they can dry, because they're going to need to dry for about 2 to 3 days before we can actually fry them and eat them. So you can use any type of sheet, just make sure it's lint-free, because the little doughs get sticky and you don't want them sticking to like towels or something. Okay, so here my pan has warmed up. I'm going to take my batter, give it a little stir, and then I'm going to use a 1/4 cup measuring cup and pour my batter into it. So a 1/4 cup is a good size for any medium pan. This next part I'm going to be a little quick, so I'm going to pour my batter and then spread it evenly at the base of the pan. Trying to get a perfectly round little crepe. And you can see it begin to change color. See right there? It's like darkening, almost like a shadow, and then here it's still a little white. So we wait until it's all that kind of opaque grayish color. And now I use the edge of my spatula to kind of peel along the edge of the circle. And the goal is to let gravity do the rest of the work. So I'm going to flip my pan over onto my sheet. Okay, so with your fingers, you gently pull the edges that you released with your spatula. But be careful because of the steam can burn. So you gently guide the little crepe down. And you make sure that the side that was facing up is going to be the side that touches the sheet, because that's the non-sticky side, and the side that was touching the pan is the sticky side. And you want that to be like facing up once it's on the sheet. Let gravity do its work, and use your fingers only to guide. And if it wrinkles like that, you can just gently pull it apart. You don't want to keep it wrinkled, otherwise it'll dry that way. So you want it to dry flat. So again, sticky side up. And the side that was up on the pan is now down on the sheet. Sometimes little bits get stuck to the edge of your pan, so just make sure that before or between each crepe, you clear off this thin little sheet and any bits of your crepes that got stuck. Again, Remember to stir before each crepe and quickly pour and distribute. Especially once the pan is pretty hot, it'll start to change color pretty quickly. You can see it start to change here. Gently guide. And you'll see when it's ready to, like that, when it's ready to come away, it really will slide off the pan, which is why you should only guide with your fingers and not tug. Because if you wait it out just enough, some of the more stubborn bits will come loose themselves. But see how I quickly unfolded this that slid off? I was looking at the screen instead of the pan. But if you let it cool for just a couple of seconds, not longer, before you start pulling it away, you'll be able to spread it back flat. Every so often you might need to wipe your pan with a wet paper towel just to get rid of that residue that's left behind. And if you do that, don't forget to renew your little oil droplet and spread it around. Because sometimes it feels like nonstick pans forget that they need to be nonstick, and you have to remind them with a little bit of oil. Pop the bubbles. Here are our Naem, waiting for them to dry. I got 11 out of this batch. I will say that the last one I made was a little thicker. I didn't use my 1/4 cup measurement because there was just a little more than a 1/4 cup left of the batter. So I poured all of that in, and it came out thicker and actually a little bit easier to peel away. However, because it's thicker, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. So while our thinner ones might take just under 48 hours to dry and be ready to eat, this one will probably take a good 3 days. So if you want it thicker and easier to work with, you're going to have to be a little more patient with being able to eat it. Once the Naem are dry, they're going to look like this. So as you can see, each individual one now has shrunk, and it has almost a leathery type feel to it. It is definitely completely dry. There's no dampness. So if you do find a moist spot, then leave that little cracker to dry a little longer. And as you can see, not all of them come out pretty, see? But anyway, our next step is going to be to deep fry them. You're going to want 2 wooden spoons, a small pot, just slightly bigger than your Naem cracker, and then some vegetable oil. No need to measure or anything, just enough that when you put the Naem in, it can be relatively submerged. And now we turn the heat on to somewhere between medium and high, closer to the higher end than medium this time. And we wait for the oil to get hot. While I wait for my oil to heat up, I have a plate with a paper towel set aside so that we can put our fully fried Naem onto it. And I've tested my oil, and to me it looks like it's ready. The way I do that is I just break off a tiny piece of the Naem cracker and I drop it into the oil, and if it starts to kind of fizzle and, you know, get bubbles around it and everything, and it floats to the top, just the tiny piece floats to the top, then I know that my oil is hot enough. As soon as I drop this into the oil, it's supposed to start expanding and the edges are going to want to curl on themselves. So you use the 2 wooden spoons to kind of keep the edges from doing that so that it stays relatively flat. There we go. It's heating up, and here we go. You see that? It puffs up like a little popcorn. And then I flip it over. Flip it over. Just a few more seconds. And I take it out while it's still blonde because it continues to slightly brown with all that hot oil on it. Alright, now I have my nicer looking ones. I'll give the oil a few more seconds to recoup some heat. Okay, drop it in. Slowly, slowly. Alright, that's what we're looking for. Aw, it curled in on the other side. Oh well. Nothing I can do about that. Let the oil drip off. See how it continues to change color? I don't know if you can tell, but it continues to change color even after I've taken it out. So that's why we don't leave it in too long. Alright, and last one that I'm going to do for the night. That's what we like. And there we have it. I'm only going to make as many as I'm going to eat because these do go stale. You don't want to fry too many. You don't end up eating, otherwise they'll go bad. But so long as they stay in that pre-fried form, they can last anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. So the last step before you can eat involves drizzling our naem with some date molasses. You can either keep it in a bowl like this, do kind of a chips and dip type situation, or with a spoon or a fork you just take it and drizzle it on top. Just like that. And enjoy.